What is up, and welcome to the All Basketball Podcast. And I'm your host, Maurice Dixon, coming to you on the afternoon of June 2nd, well before the playoff game tonight in the NBA between the Wizards and the Sixers, the Mavs and the Clippers, and one more matchup. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, yeah, the Jazz and the Grizzlies. But before we get to all of that, I want to focus on last night, first day of June, and that guy Dame Lillard, man. It was definitely Dame time. And probably in a loss, dude dropped 55 points. And hear me on these numbers, on these shooting percentages. 17 of 24 overall, that's 71%. 12 of 17 from deep, that's also 71%. Then he had 10 assists. He became the first guy to hit 55 points, 10 assists, and make 12 threes in the postseason. He also broke Klay Thompson's previous three-point record of 11 threes in a playoff game dating back to 2016 when Klay had that epic game, Game 6 in Oklahoma City, when the Warriors were able to overcome that 3-1 deficit and win that series over Kevin Durant, Westbrook, and go on to, unfortunately, they went on and lost to Cleveland. They blew a 3-1, then blew a 3-1 lead. But getting back to Dame Lillard, man, I mean, the shots I saw him make, I mean, side steps, step backs, coming around screens, and the man, the defender on the backside who may just sort of just switched, or the guy tried to hedge and get back, he just burned him in every way. I mean, to hit 12 threes, and a lot of them like that. And then the fourth, with the one when you force overtime, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. was right there in his grill, still made it three. And then to force a double overtime, hitting the sidestep over Monty Morris. All you can do is shake his hand in that instance. But then the big question comes, guys always say, I know on TNT last night, they were screaming, you foul, you got time to foul. I mean, yeah, maybe the guy does. Maybe since there's a fear of the guy he knows you're about to foul him. So he goes into a shooting motion, and then you give him three free throws. Always a tough situation, but they played great D. If I was coaching, I'm double teaming. I mean, this guy, he's earned the nickname Dame Time for a reason. I mean, the shot against Houston in the playoffs years ago when he eliminated them, that James Harden, Dwight Howard team, then the one he hit over Paul George to eliminate OKC and Westbrook in that series in 5 games just a few years ago. Big shot he hit, I think it was this past regular season against the Bulls. I mean, I know he hit one in Detroit one season. With that reputation, I'm doubling you, taking the ball out your hands. We live with the results because we're already going to overtime. It's not that we want to definitely lose the game if another guy gets close to a wide open shot. I'm taking the ball out your hands. That's the ultimate sign of respect. We're going to have to, somebody else from the Blazers is going to have to beat my team. And that's what I would have did if I was in Mike Malone's shoes. I mean, and the crazy thing was, now I know McCollum hit a big shot in the clutch there, either to help force OT or going to that second OT. I know he stepped on the baseline. He had a few blunders there, but nobody else was shooting well for their team. I mean, McCollum was 7 of 22? Yeah, 2 of 8 from 3. Covington shot decent. Norman Powell, 5 of 14. Covington, 5 of 10. Was Carmelo, because he was out there too. 3 of 11, 2 of 9 from 3. I mean, I said, hey, I take my chances and put the pressure on those guys, on the role players. I know Carmelo's has a history of hitting some clutch shots, but he's older now. So in that case, I'm taking the ball out of his hands. But in the end, it worked out. Their strategy, the Nuggets staff, their strategy worked out because they ended up winning the game. I mean, so, but I mean, and Jokic had 38, another strong performance. Porter Jr. stepped up, hit some big shots, but uh, key game. I mean, Portland wins that game. They go up 3-2, going back home with a chance to close it out. Now it's going home down 3-2. And yeah, maybe they'll get their game. Some of the role players, some of those guys have better nights, but my only concern would be, unless Dame Lillard's about to hit a major hot streak, can he duplicate that performance again? Highly unlikely, but maybe get close to those numbers. I mean, still shooting around 50%, maybe close to 60, or definitely not dipping below 40. But it's going to be a tough task after you exert so much energy and you come up short after a performance like that. It's going to be challenging to repeat that, but maybe they go about it differently and everybody else is clicking and he continues to do enough or score within the 30 to 40 point range to help them even the series and bring it back to Denver for a game 7, which would be would definitely be must see. Other game last night, the Lakers and the Suns. Suns set the house on fire early. Got to get the women and children out. I mean, it was Devin Booker came out smoking. Cameron Payne helped them out. I mean, they were just rolling. Lakers actually started well, but that kind of faded, and then Booker just took over, and not having Anthony Davis due to a growing injury really hurt the Lakers. Has been their story all season long. They've been dealing with LeBron was out with the ankle, then Anthony Davis had the calf issue, maybe Achilles issue, and it's just been they just had health issues, and that's why they're a 7th seed. And I'm really surprised that the series is the way it is right now. I was surprised to see Phoenix come back and win game 4 after losing games 2 and 3. And then and then game 5, I kind of, with no Davis and probably the chances being slim of some of those role players for the Lakers stepping up back in Phoenix, it was only going to be LeBron, and it was just going to be, if once the Suns took off and then they got up 30, it was a wrap. I mean, to only allow the Lakers to score 10 points in the second quarter, it's quite an accomplishment. I mean, they clanked it up. I mean, LeBron was finding guys, but they weren't making anything. Schroeder missed all of his shots. Drummond was a non-factor, really. Kuzma, they don't care off the bench, but I guess most of that was just at the point during garbage time. So, but we'll see if Glass Davis is available to play in the next game. He was kind of stretching it out, but couldn't go. I'm feeling pretty doubtful. Once you kind of get a growing injury, like what LeBron had when he first got to LA, he had some issues. I mean, he had to take some time off, and so I expect a similar fate for Davis. But if they get game 6, that'll give him some extra time, and maybe he can come out there and give him something for game 7. But I mean, the Lakers up against it. I mean, with health, I didn't expect the series to go that way, and then with the issues Chris Paul was having, I was like, oh yeah, the Phoenix definitely doesn't have a chance now, but they have a chance. They're one game away. Hey, they go out there and play well, and there's no Davis. The champs are out. I mean, the Suns knock off the champs. I mean, yeah, and it would be the Lakers will have the injury excuse, but sometimes it just happens. It's sports. Uh, it's a physical game. I mean, it's running, jumping. Sometimes your body just can't hold up to that strenuous action all the time. So, but I mean, they're going back home. They just gotta definitely got to get this next one. It's no time to relax. Must win. I'm pretty sure we'll see a more aggressive LeBron if he has enough in him, enough energy to at his age to push them through and get somebody else to help him. Then it'll be definitely a big benefit if Anthony Davis can go. But I mean, it's just been his MO. I mean, just his mode of operation. He's been injured. He's on the floor often. Uh, I'm just not. I don't feel too positive about them repeating. I mean, he's just too injury prone, and without him, I mean, he's a big part of their success. I mean, he's a big matchup problem, and if he's not in the game, the Lakers are going to have it tough. And then if Harold isn't going to play well, if Schroeder isn't going to play well, and Gasol is old, and if Drummond can't give you 18 and 15, then and you already don't have a great 3-point shooting team, it's just not going to be much. That's just not a successful recipe. I mean, it's just not going to end well. But we'll see how that plays out. They get back on the court Thursday night. We'll see how it unfolds. Speaking of injuries, also want to tonight's games. Embiid will be out for Game 5. Another guy just fragile. I mean, big guy. First 2 years in the league, he didn't play because of injuries. He's missed time every year, and it's just like everything was going well for that team, and they were on the verge of sweeping Washington, but Washington showed the Wizards showed a lot of heart and hey, a lot of pride. Hey, we're not going to get swept. I know Westbrook had a off game, but grabbed 21 rebounds, dished out those assists. Hachimura hit some big shots down the stretch. Beal as well, but Philly's just a much better team, especially with Embiid. But I mean, the play he got hurt on, I'm just looking at like, and I haven't heard anybody say this, but I feel like with him knowing how his body is and his reputation of injury, it's just going to be certain things you shouldn't do on the basketball court, or you should stay away from. I mean, I know obviously you're playing, sometimes instinct takes over before you really think about it, but for him to get a pass kind of on the fast breaker, running downhill and then not be able to take off on 2 feet and go up strong and land properly. I mean, he's kind of doing a move that a guard would do, and stretching out, trying to get a layup over Lopez, and then your knee kind of buckles and you land on your tailbone. It looks like it's just your tailbone is hurt, but they say you have a slight tear in your meniscus. And it's just, I mean, it just to me, it wasn't a very smart play. I mean, you just have to know what you can and can't do at certain points. I mean, like I'll give this personal example. I believe me, I'm not on that level, but played my fair share of basketball. Started having the issue around with my had a bone bruise in my foot around like 04, 05 when I was in Connecticut. We play ball religiously every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the winter up at the Y. And I went for a steal one time, and I felt some discomfort in my right heel. I was thinking it was around my Achilles. And so, I mean, that thing was aching. I kept playing on it foolishly, but I noticed when I would come to like jump stops or hard stops, because I wanted to pull up or I'm running full speed and just stop on the dime, I would feel discomfort doing that. So after a while, I had to learn a few times, but okay, this is something you're not going to be able to do anymore like that, because you're going to keep injuring this part of your foot, and you're going to be out here limping or not able to play. And it's just a mental adjustment. I felt like he shouldn't be doing anything the way he's coming full force downhill off 1 foot. I mean, with not great balance. I mean, he falls off, and then you have an injury history. You just kind of have to know that there's certain things you shouldn't be doing. I mean, reset the ball, get it on the post. I mean, I know these guys, I know he has the ability to want to face up and do damage like that, but do things that are quote unquote safer. I know you can get hurt doing anything out there on the basketball court because you're moving around. It's a physical game, and it's a sport. It's physically taxing on your body, but just to have an injury like that now, okay, yeah, now they'll probably end this series tonight because they still have enough left with Tobias Harris. We'll see about Ben Simmons if he scores enough. But you have Danny Green, you have Steph Curry who can shoot, a couple other guys, Shake Milton, Dwight Howard. He can be in the paint. I mean, not really an offensive force or an offensive threat, but put back alley oops. He can finish those. Korkmaz shooting. They definitely have the shooting advantage over the Wizards, so that'll probably play to their advantage. But it's just going to come down to how Ben Simmons plays. We know he's not going to shoot, so but if he can score from the post, draw the defense and be able to kick. I mean, Washington doesn't have really a great defense, so guys are going to be open, pushing the open floor, just keep attacking the basket. But it's going to have to get that free throw percentage up. I mean, dude shooting, they started hacking him in the last game. He had like half his free throws, but it obviously wasn't enough. I mean, I think, yeah, he's shooting in the series, he's 5 of 20. And that's just for someone who has to handle the ball, that's just not what you want for your point guard. I mean, for dude to be shooting, and that percentage that's 25%. I mean, I should have known that. 5 of 20 from the free throw line. I mean, hopefully he's got in some work. It's not going to change that quickly, but hopefully he's got in some work to be able to prepare for this game because he knows, the coaching staff knows it's coming. Doc Rivers is probably not going to take him out the game unless they just keep doing, unless they have a lead and it's taken away from their lead because they're doing it early in the fourth quarter where you have to maybe sit them until around the 2-minute mark, like they used to do with Shaq or DeAndre Jordan. When those teams would have a lead, they just, man, we're gonna foul this guy and take the chances and get 2s and 3s on the other end, and you giving up one at the max 2 points, and just kills the momentum of the game. But hopefully that doesn't happen because that's just ugly basketball. I mean, nobody wants to see somebody who doesn't shoot free throws well on the free throw line most of the game. That's this. I know it's a sport and it's a competition. People want to win, but this is entertaining as well. We want to see a good basketball game, but he's going to have to get that together. And then the quicker they get the series over, I guess the better. But Atlanta, New York could end tonight as well. And so, I mean, they could be going into the series against the Hawks without Embiid, and I still think Philly would have enough. But I mean, without Embiid and with some of the issues with still lingering with Ben Simmons, who knows, the Hawks could definitely push him or maybe even steal the series. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise, but if that happened, I mean, that'd be a great accomplishment to go to the East Finals. But that Hawks team isn't beating Brooklyn or Milwaukee, whoever comes out of that series. But yeah, just we'll see how that plays out. I like Embiid's game. I'm not sure if that team's even going to be able to get to the finals, but I felt like they addressed their issues. They addressed their shooting issues. They have a proven coach. You have Embiid, who's a force. Simmons is a great defender. Harris can score, and you have other shooters, and they play a good amount of defense. They have just as much of they have a really good chance of getting back to the finals for the first time in a long time. And the East Finals wouldn't be nothing to brush off or look down upon either, because I mean Milwaukee and then Brooklyn, they're both good teams too. So it's definitely nothing to throw shade at. We'll see how that shakes out. As far as the other game tonight, that possibly could be ending, good chance. The Atlanta New York game. I guess when you look at how the game's played out, it really, I mean, Trae Young hit the clutch floater in game one. But I mean, Atlanta's really pretty much been dominant in this series. New York just doesn't have enough offense. They play great defense, but they just don't have enough offense. And then when you have Julius Randle, I mean, shooting 27% from the field, 20 of 73. I mean, he's missing contested shots, somewhat open shots, but he doesn't really have the ability, I don't think, to beat a double team. I mean, he's finding the guys. He's finding Bullock when he can, finding Rose. I mean, Randall hasn't shot it that well either. Burks had that one hot game, but they just don't. They just don't have enough offense. I mean, the quote Jay-Z, Julius Randle's all right, but he's not real. I mean, when it comes to the playoffs, you want to at least be at your average, hit your averages, scoring average, or go a little above, because the intensity goes up, and that's how you display how great of a player you are. Now he's well deserving of getting that most improved player award, and still even some MVP votes, because nobody expected much of the Knicks this year. But I think if now obviously people are seeing what he's doing against the Hawks, who are a good team, but they're not known as a great defense. They have some defensive guys like Capella, Bogdanovich seems to play good defense, DeAndre Hunter, and maybe even John Collins. But this isn't a defensive juggernaut, so to speak, and you're not getting your numbers. You're clanking it up. I mean, it's not a good look. It just proves that you need someone of equal or with a little more talent to go along with Randall to help this team overcome their deficiencies, especially on offense. I mean, the defense is there, but it's basketball. I mean, the game is catered towards scoring. You're going to have to be able to keep up and produce points to win, especially nowadays when so many shots are from 3-point range and guys are hitting them at a high clip. You have to be able to keep up. And I mean, it's going to be an intense environment. Hopefully there's no more foolishness. Obviously, I don't think anybody be spitting anybody or throwing anything. Hopefully, I mean, the fan stuff lately has just been really silly. I mean, people need to check themselves and act like adults. I mean, that's just a terrible thing to do. I mean, it's just very childish. I mean, control yourself. But it's going to be an intense crowd, intense atmosphere, because the Knicks fans don't want this series to end on their home floor without them advancing, with them being eliminated. But I mean, Atlanta's just a better team. I mean, Trae Young's been playing very well, shooting pretty good from three. I mean, free throw line not missing, barely missing, hitting that floater, and his supporting cast has been stepping up. So they should just the fact how they pretty much dominated the series. I mean, you had game two when Trae Young went out, they were dominating that game before he sat too long. But so I think this series has a good chance of being wrapped up tonight, and we can go ahead and then you be able to move on to the Sixers and the Hawks in round 2. But and the other game tonight, Utah and Memphis. Memphis won that first game, but I just don't think they just don't have enough. Utah's been the better team all season. I mean, Ja Morant's definitely doing this thing, getting to the lane. Probably been one of the best highlights of the playoffs. I mean, that going up against Gobert, but Gobert turned it away. But it would make for a great picture. I mean, good video, but I don't know what it is, but I feel like Memphis, and they're an AFC for a reason. They had to play their way in. They need another piece, another maybe more consistent piece. Dylan Brooks is a good second option. Kyle Anderson's decent. Jaren Jackson, I guess maybe he's gonna have to bring up his level of play a little more in the future, but the team is they're just missing a little something, maybe a little more shooting. But Utah is just a better team with Bojan Bogdanovic, with Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, Mike Conley playing better, Donovan Mitchell, Gobert playing solid defense, Royce O'Neal helping out. I just think they're a better team. They just had the better season, and they should have wrapped that thing up at home tonight. Memphis really can't do anything with Donovan Mitchell, and since he's been back, they haven't been able to beat the Jazz again, and I don't expect that to happen tonight. And that leaves us. Yeah, that's all the action going on tonight, and previewing a few upcoming series. But now Brooklyn closed out Boston last night, as expected. Just too much firepower with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. No surprise there. I mean, Jason Tatum did what he could, but Jaylen Brown was hurt before the series, and then Kemba Walker went out. So big ups to Tatum for doing what he could, but just too overmatched. Then Boston didn't really have a good season, and it also came out. So Brooklyn did what they need to do. Then also Harden had that very impressive game with a triple double last night. Then the previous game, Durant 42, only missed a few shots. Kyrie 39. Yeah, just just too much offense. It went as expected. Big up to Boston. They showed pride, didn't get swept, but they're going to have to address some things with their roster. And then today it came out that Danny Ainge decided to retire, and Brad Stevens is going into his position. So now they're going to be looking for a new coach. Maybe we'll find out who that is before the playoffs end, or in the coming weeks, or as the playoffs get closer to ending. We'll see who they decide to bring in, and then they'll start making adjustments with their roster as far as definitely keeping Tatum. I assume they'll probably keep Brown too. I always hear that those guys don't seem to mesh well. It's a your turn, my turn type of system. But Brown improved a lot this year. He was definitely atop my list of most improved players. Just being able to see him hit shots consistently, hit the three more. But they have some issues with big guys. I like Robert Williams. Shot blocker, strong finisher around the rim, good at catching lobs. But you got Kemba Walker with the knee issues. They're going to have to address that. Probably going to have to stick with him. And then they brought in Fournier. I guess he'll be there, but Going to have to get more guys off the bench with some talent. I mean, you got a name in Jabari Parker, but his body's kind of failed him, so he's just kind of. We'll see if they bring him back, but you kind of need more than that. You're gonna need some, and definitely some more dependable size. I don't know Tristan Thompson will be back, or if he what his contract consists of, but it's there's going to be some changes coming with that roster. We'll see what kind of moves they make, and who's the head coach, and what kind of vision he has, and restructuring plan he has to go alongside Brad Stevens. So some major changes there in Boston. Then you have the other series tonight, the Clippers and the Mavs. I mean, what a roller coaster. I mean, you have the Mavs come out, win the first two games in LA. You have the Clippers come back and win the next two games in Dallas, and game 4 convincingly. I mean, you have to give Paul George and Kawhi Leonard a lot of credit. I mean, that they were down 30-11 at one point early in that game, and for them to fight back and avoid going down 3-0, which is a death sentence, because nobody's ever come back from a 3-0 deficit to win a series in the NBA. And so, I mean, they just came back and just they figured out something. I mean, and definitely helped when Luka Doncic is just struggling from the free throw line, and then those role players like Tim Hardaway and Finney Smith and other guys just stop making all those threes. And so it's I'm not sure how tonight will go. If you take the trend, I mean, Dallas should win this game since they've had so much success there early. But now the whole mindset's flipped. I mean, everybody was bashing the Clippers, and now there was talk about. I mean, I know you have to react to every game, but I guess after them going down 2-0, it was looking rather bleak. Like, wow, maybe it's just. And I myself was even just saying, well, it's just not working between Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. But now they've reversed things. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is shooting an absurd percentage right now, 63%, 48% from three, averaging 33 points a game. So he's been doing what he's supposed to do as far as scoring load. And Paul George has came along and helped him. He's not shooting as great from three, but 50% from the field. And offensively, pretty much has been all Luka for the Mavs. Majority Luka. I mean, Porzingis is playing okay, averaging 15, but he needs to be in the 20-point range. I know other guys, Tim Hardaway and Jalen Brunson, have been helping out, and but you gotta. I mean, you're a big time player. I know his body has failed him. His health has been kind of an issue, but we're gonna need some more. And then now you have Luka with the neck issue. He said it's better, so we'll see how he looks tonight, because it definitely was affecting him the past game and game 3. But people like Barkley are saying it's over. A lot of people just saying the momentum has shifted so much that the Clippers just went 4 straight after losing the first 2. So we'll see how the pressure's still on. We'll see how they play back at home. I mean, you're back home tonight. You still can't relax. See if they come out and continue to shoot the 3 so well. That's just been a major factor in these past 2 games, and it's kind of been a detriment, a negative for Dallas, because they've just that shooting spark they came out with, that hot shooting spark they came out with, has kind of regressed back to the mean, so to speak, or regressed back to averages. But hopefully Luka's healthy. We want him to be at full strength and be able to get a true series, not have the excuse of injury. But like I said earlier, injury happens. But he's also going to have to correct that that free throw percentage. I mean, 41%, you're the point guard. I mean, 13 of 32 in 4 games. I mean, that's pretty bad. I think one thing I noticed with him, he's reacting after misses. You have to be calm, cool, and collected, especially at the level you're at. I mean, you can't you can't keep showing that emotion. You just gotta stay level headed and go back to the basics. I mean, get in like a get in the mind, relaxed mind state, and just if they don't go, don't react so boisterously. Just okay, you missed, but every time you go up there, just find something. You have to find laser sharp focus and be able to knock those shots down because it could game come down to the wire. That's where you could be, and it's gonna be a lot of pressure. But just a very intriguing series there. How just the storyline went from Clippers are dead, they're a joke, they're fraudulent. Then now is they showed they showed grit, they persevered and come back to even the series, and now it's like they're gonna take the series. People just noticed something that and with if Luka Doncic isn't 100%, I mean they should win, and the Clippers should win. They're a better team, but Dallas came out really hungry. Dallas came out really focused because they remember the 4-2 series they lost last year to the same team. So they were like, well, we're on a revenge tour. So and they showed that early. I mean, and Luka Doncic in the pick and roll, I mean, they're gonna whoever the weak spot is, whether it's Zubac or they're going to get that matchup in the screen and roll. And if the Clippers keep switching it, then you're gonna have to live with the results. But if Doncic isn't a great Luka isn't a great 3-point shooter, but I mean, if he's knocking it down, y'all gonna have to fight through screens or do something. I mean, you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I mean, you gotta. I mean, I know switching just doesn't allow for open looks from three because guys are so dangerous. But at a certain point, you have to adjust to be able to, I don't know, fight through or get to where you can switch back. I mean, I know it's a lot of space out there now but it's just you can't continue to take the least path of resistance and Joe, I'm just gonna switch and let somebody else guard him and hope he misses. Nah, when it's a bad matchup, that guy's gonna get cooked. That's why a lot of reasons why big men now can't play because they can't guard because the game is so it's catered to guards who can shoot. So if you're and if you can't guard, then you can't score on the other end. You're pretty much useless as a big guy. I mean, unless you're an Embiid or a Jokic or definitely Gobert because he can guard. Capella, I think, can guard pretty well. He's not really an offensive threat, but he'll catch lobs and he can in the paint. He can be effective, and then there's just the fact he can guard enough. And so we'll see which way that series sways and see if what kind of adjustments are made because there has to be an adjustment to the previous adjustment. And now, as far as we do have one series, one new series I want to address, and that's Brooklyn and Milwaukee, number 2 and 3 seeds in the conference. Now, Milwaukee did win the season series 2-1, but all of them close games. But I know I saw a good bit of one of them, and it was a tightly contested game. That's when Durant missed he had a chance to tie it up. Yeah, missed the fading three, but I don't think Harden was playing that game. And then the other two games, it could have been Kyrie, Harden, Durant having all been there. So now it wasn't truly the squad they're going to see now. Now all those guys are healthy. Milwaukee's main guys are healthy, and should be a long series. I mean, I assume Holiday's going to match up with Kyrie, Giannis on Durant at times, Middleton on Harden. That's how I would kind of play. I mean, Milwaukee has enough defense, but Brooklyn is they're serious offensively. They put pressure on you, and so we're going to see how those things balance out. I mean, I think Giannis still needs, depending on who they put on him, if it's Claxton, Griffin, or even if Brooklyn decides to play DeAndre Jordan this series. I mean, but you got to get down in the post and work as far as fadeaways, and I mean, just display some post moves you come accustomed to doing. As far as Giannis, I mean, up and under fadeaways, just just attack them there. So it's just not so much of an up and down game, even though they probably won't be able to stop you. But I mean, Brooklyn's offense is just so potent, but you're just hoping that you can contain Kyrie and James Harden. I mean, not foul them. I mean, they're going to get theirs, but you're going to just going to have to continually make it tough. And should definitely be a good series uh, when it does kick off. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy. I know Milwaukee doesn't have DiVincenzo, but I guess Forbes may fill in, or Pat Connaughton, one of those guys. But it's gonna we'll see how it affects Milwaukee because DiVincenzo was their starter. So now you're asking someone else to play a role they didn't play before. But should be an interesting series. And the Bucks, I mean, shout out to them. They also came with the revenge on the brain when they handled Miami. I mean, first game was close. Miami didn't shoot well, and then but Middleton iced them with the plus J. Then after that, it was just like a snowball effect rolling down here that Miami just couldn't avalanche. They just could not control. I mean, blown out, building on fire in the second game, just 132 to 98. I mean, Brent Forbes just making threes. They did have a lot of defensive breakdowns in that game. And then first game home, they get handled 113-84. In game four, when you're playing for pride, I mean, they were up, but Milwaukee made the adjustment at the half and just steamrolled those guys. 120-103. Just a different year. Not in the bubble. I mean, Miami they just didn't have it. I mean, Butler played his usual game, but only averaged 15. I mean, everybody kind of chipped in, but Duncan Robinson didn't shoot it that well. Tyler Hero kind of was nowhere to be found as far as the series. I mean, 32% overall, 32% from three. Kendrick Nunn was pretty much ineffective. I mean, they just pretty much the same team. I mean, just without Jake Crowder and Olynyk, Myers Leonard, who didn't play much. Now, the Oladipo got hurt. They had gave up a little to get him. But, I mean, Milwaukee I was surprised they really handled Miami this way. We'll see how Miami addresses their team and how they're going to may have to restructure a few things because I didn't expect them to get after the run they had last year. I didn't expect them to get embarrassed or just get run the way they did. I mean, they just got ran off the court, but they kind of had a weird season. I mean, they had some COVID issues, injury issues, but they never took that leap or separated themselves because they had a similar record. I mean, they were the fifth seed in the East last season, and then this year, well, a sixth seed. So they they didn't take that leap. Everyone, okay, you got to the finals, you push the Lakers to 6. Can you be atop the conference this season? I know some changes. I know Milwaukee made key changes. Brooklyn with adding Harden. Philadelphia as well with adding shooting and bringing back Simmons. Already having Simmons and Embiid. So I know it's going to be tough, but I mean, realistically, you should have had the seed that New York had. We didn't know New York was going to revive, become what they become. And so, I mean, for them to end up being a 6th seed, they were always kind of playing or hanging around the 500 mark, slipping out of the playoffs, slipping low in the standings. Then they finally got together to an extent, but just something didn't click. It didn't appear well. And then they gotta be against a team that they handled and knew how to limit again. But I mean, with Drew Holiday and the additions the Bucks made, PJ Tucker and just having Milwaukee making certain adjustments, they played a different team, and that team showed them we're different and we're going to blow you off the court. Like Giannis said, we're not going to play with our food. We're going to scrape the plate, and they they brought the brooms out. And so gonna be interesting. Playoffs have been good. We'll see what happens tonight, see what series go on, see what series come to an end. Because at least two have the chance of coming to an end. If I'm reading it right, I think. Because they all aren't playing this evening. But as far as that, we just hope there are no more fan incidents. People just act maturely. It's sports. Don't take it too seriously. It's not. It shouldn't affect your everyday being. I mean, just be mature. Act like an adult. Oh yeah, we do have 4 games tonight. So yeah, so 3 with the chance, 3 series have the chances of ending, and we'll see who takes the edge between the Clippers and the Mavs. But that's my time, folks. This is another edition of the All Basketball Podcast, another episode of Just My Thoughts. I'm your host, Maurice Dixon. Thank you for listening. You can find this podcast on all your major podcast platforms, wherever you listen, and also on YouTube. And until next time, peace and be blessed in Jesus' name.